Welcome back to FPL Vortex.
Welcome to
Telescope Gameweek 38 full preview.
Vortex.
The analytical blueprint for Gameweek 38 is now locked in. This analysis is built on Poisson expected goals modeling and a custom fixture difficulty rating system, giving every recommendation a strong data foundation. We are running for around 25 minutes today. After that, we take a quick look back at the squad review to assess how the previous structure performed. We begin with the market trends, identifying where the underlying numbers are pointing right now. Next, we break down the sword and shield strategy, separating the key foundation picks from the higher upside differentials. We then move to the fixture ticker to understand where the schedule becomes favorable and where caution may be needed over the coming weeks. After that, we analyze the expected goals map to identify the strongest attacking ceilings. Let's get into it. Gameweek 37 is in the books. Let us break down how the locked squad handled the swing of the weekend. Anchoring things in goal, Verbruggen carried the defensive foundation. The back line was built around Gabriel, Van Heck and O'Reilly as the structure at the back. In midfield, Soccer, Fernandes, Gross and Cherki were the main creative force driving the attack. Up front, Holland, Gyökeres and Calvert-Lewin were tasked with converting the chance volume into points. On the bench, Darlow, Tavernier, Struijk and Hill provided the necessary cover. The captaincy did not land this week. Gyökeres managed only 2 points against Crystal Palace away. The standout performer this game week was Soccer from Arsenal, who delivered 10 points and drove the haul. Cherki from Man City posted the lowest return of the week with just 1 point. Worth a second look before the next deadline. Once the dust settled, this version finished on 53 points. Unfortunately, the week produced a red arrow, slipping 10,958 places to an overall rank of 36,200. A middling week, not disastrous but not decisive either. The numbers will steer the response. With the round complete and the squad resetting, it is time to look ahead. Let's shift our focus to the live market trends and see where the sharp money is heading. At the time of recording, on Wednesday the 20th of May, 2026 at 9:31 p.m. Eastern, this is the live state of the Gameweek 38 transfer market. These numbers are pulled directly from the official FPL API in real time, giving us the most up-to-date picture of where the market is moving. This is the final game week of the season, so every move now becomes decisive. Raw transfer volume can tell us a lot, but the real edge comes from separating market noise from genuinely smart moves. Let's break down the 3 biggest names coming in this week and understand exactly why experienced managers are moving for them right now. The biggest mover this week is Bowen, the forward from West Ham. 109,000 managers have brought him in, and against Leeds at home the model projects for expected points. That level of movement is no coincidence, and what we are seeing here is elite managers ignoring average form to aggressively attack a genuine fixture swing. Second in the incomings is Anderson from Nottingham Forest. The midfielder has attracted 88,000 transfers this week, with a projected return of 8.5 expected points against Bournemouth at home. This looks like a well-backed move, with the wider market clearly responding to the sharp money backing elite recent form into an highly exploitable matchup. And completing the top 3 is Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. The midfielder is now owned by 7.5% of squads after 78,000 new transfers this week. Against Bournemouth at home, the projection sits at 6 expected points, with this trend being driven largely by the sharp money backing elite recent form into an highly exploitable matchup. Now for the other side of the market. The sell data can be just as revealing as the buys, because it often shows where confidence is beginning to weaken. Here are the 3 players managers are moving away from most heavily this week. The heaviest sell this week is Thiago from Brentford. The forward is being moved on by 108,000 managers, and the reason is fairly clear. With Liverpool away on the horizon, the market is reacting to a difficult run of fixtures. Next is Wilson from Fulham. The midfielder is seeing 82,000 transfers out this week. His output has fallen to 1.8 points per game, which is enough for a wave of exits. And João Pedro from Chelsea completes the outgoings picture. Over 80,000 teams have already made the move, and the logic is straightforward. Carrying a red flag player keeps valuable money tied up. He is carrying a fitness flag, so mandate a firm hold until the Friday press conferences confirm his exact status. Looking at these transfer trends helps us separate short-term noise from the moves that actually matter. The market reacts fast, but the real edge comes from spotting where the structure is strongest and where managers are beginning to create value. Step back from the individual names and the wider pattern is pretty clear. Most managers are leaning toward better fixtures, stronger projected returns, and safer minutes, while moving away from tougher schedules, weaker form, or players who are not available. Next, we move into the sword and shield view, separating the must-haves from the higher upside differentials. We move now to the sword and shield strategy. The idea here is simple. Before chasing aggressive differentials, you first need to secure the high ownership players capable of damaging your rank if you go without them. The shields come first. These are the reliable, heavily backed assets who provide stability and protection across the game week. We begin with the shields, the trusted core picks carrying both strong ownership and strong projections heading into favorable fixtures. Holland from Man City headlines the shield group. The forward is currently backed by 64.3% of managers, and that ownership reflects both consistency and fixture quality. Against Aston Villa at home, the model projects 7.3 expected points. This is less about chasing explosive upside and more about protecting your position from a highly owned return. Next up is Gabriel, the Arsenal defender. At 46.1% ownership, going without him already introduces risk before a ball is even kicked. The projection against Crystal Palace away sits at 8.8 expected points, which gives managers a dependable foundation going into the game week. Fading a player at this level of ownership usually needs a very strong reason. Completing the shield group is Raya from Arsenal. The matchup against Crystal Palace away carries a projected return of 8.8 points, while 36.5% of managers already have him in place. This is the type of player you settle into the squad first before looking for opportunities to gain ground elsewhere. With the core structure in place, attention turns toward the differential side of the strategy. The swords are the lower-owned players the model believes can outperform expectations this game week. These are not safe picks by definition, but the combination of projected output, fixture quality, and ownership profile creates genuine upside for managers looking to climb rank. The standout differential right now is Ampadu. Sitting at just 0.6% ownership, the Leeds midfielder offers real upside potential this week. The underlying projections point toward an expected 5.8 return against West Ham away. This is the type of calculated gamble that can create meaningful rank gains if the fixture opens up. Then we have Kusanov, operating well below the wider market radar at only 0.7% ownership. What stands out is the projected output against Aston Villa at home, where the model currently forecasts for 0.9 expected points. Profiles like this often become the difference between maintaining rank and making a major jump. Finally, keep a close eye on Polhinia. The minutes look secure, yet ownership remains low at just 0.8%. Against Everton at home, the projected return sits at 4.5 expected points, suggesting the market may still be undervaluing the Spurs midfielder. Identifying these opportunities early is often what separates aggressive elite play from template management. Hold the shields, consider the swords if they fit your squad, and do not overthink the middle ground. Now let's go straight to the fixture difficulty map and see exactly where the schedule starts to open up. Here is the fixture outlook across the next 1 week. Instead of a basic opponent list, this is built from projected expected goals, which gives a clearer read on where the real attacking and defensive value sits. Let's begin with the 3 most favourable schedules. Arsenal sit at the top of the fixture list with an average difficulty score of 2.7. Their run includes Crystal Palace, and the underlying attacking projections support that view. If you are mapping out squad direction over the next few weeks, this is a strong place to begin. Just behind them, Man City carry a 2.7 average. Matches against Aston Villa give their key players a real scoring window, and the numbers back that up. And Nottingham Forest also land in a favourable zone, sitting at 2.8 across this stretch. Fixtures like Bournemouth keep their assets on the radar, especially if you already own them and are weighing up a hold or sale. At the other end of the scale, these are the 3 schedules where the data makes a clear case for moving players out. The toughest schedule belongs to Man United, at 3.2 on average. They face Brighton over this run, which makes a strong case for moving their players on sooner rather than later. Aston Villa also enter a difficult window with a 3.3 rating. Gains against Manchester City reduce what their attacking players can realistically produce during this stretch. And Brentford sit near the hardest end at 3.3, with Liverpool coming up. The score alone does not rule them out, but once you add the fixture set, the argument for selling is there. That is the wider picture. The next step is narrowing it down to which players inside these schedules are actually worth targeting on a week-by-week basis. With that in mind, let's turn to the expected goals map and identify the strongest attacking ceilings. The projected goals map covers the next 1 week of attacking output across all 20 clubs. This is not based on recent form. It is built on projected shot volume against specific opponents, which gives a more stable picture of where the returns are likely to come from. Leading the attacking projections is Man City, with 1.5 expected goals across this window. Their structure is consistently creating strong chances, and the underlying numbers support that. If you are not holding their key attackers, the fixture run gives you a solid reason to consider them. In second place is Arsenal, projected for 1.5 expected goals. The chance creation is reliable here, and the schedule backs it up. Their forwards and attacking midfielders deserve attention if the pricing works. And Spurs complete the top 3 at 1 point for expected goals. The shot volume and fixture profile combine well here, which makes their attacking assets a sensible hold through this stretch. The other side of the story matters just as much. These are the attacks where the numbers are not offering much encouragement right now. Man United sit near the bottom with a projection of 1.2 expected goals. Their setup is not producing the kind of volume you want from FPL assets over this run. Similarly, Brentford are projected at 1.2 expected goals. The output in the final third has been limited, and the fixtures do not give them much help either. And at the bottom of the table, Aston Villa come in at 1.2 expected goals. Holding their attackers as regular starters through this window is a tough case to make when stronger options are available. The attacking picture is fairly clear. Focus on the squads at the top of the table, and be cautious with the ones sitting at the bottom. Switching to the defensive side, let's break down the clean sheet probabilities. The clean sheet map covers the next 1 week of defensive probability across all clubs. This uses opponent expected goals to calculate the likelihood of a shutout, which is a more accurate baseline than just looking at recent defensive form. The strongest clean sheet probability over this stretch belongs to Man City, with an average of 31.5%. The defensive structure is consistently restricting chances, and the data backs that up. Their defenders and goalkeeper look like dependable starting options. Just behind them, Liverpool project at 31.1%. The defensive numbers are solid here, and the fixture run supports that view. Their back line is worth holding or targeting if the schedule fits your plan. And Brighton complete the top 3 at 29.0%. All 3 squads offer a fairly stable defensive floor over the next few weeks. The other side of the table is where you start thinking seriously about reducing exposure. At the bottom, Everton project at just 23.6% clean sheet probability. Their back line is giving up chances at a rate that makes a shutout look unlikely over this stretch. Similarly, Crystal Palace come in at 22.6%. Their defensive output has been limited, and the upcoming fixtures do not offer much relief either. And Aston Villa sit at the bottom of the clean sheet table with 22.0%. If you own defenders from any of these 3 clubs, it is worth asking whether the points floor is strong enough to justify the starting spot. The defensive picture is fairly clear. Clean sheet probability tracks the fixture map closely. Before any structural moves, we need to clear up the latest injury and suspension picture. Now to the injury and availability picture. This is often where game week planning starts to unravel, so it is important to separate the serious flags from the precautionary ones. We are focusing only on the highest priority cases, ranked by ownership and the likelihood of missing minutes. The most important case to flag this week is João Pedro from Chelsea. He is listed at 75% to play, which places him in a grey area. With 37.5% ownership, he is not an urgent sell at this stage, but he is someone you want clarity on before starting. The latest from the live FPL data feed is knock. Wait for the pre-match updates before making any decisions here. The next concern is Gusto, the defender from Chelsea. He is listed at 75% to play, which places him in a grey area. With 1.8% ownership, he is not an urgent sell at this stage, but he is someone you want clarity on before starting. The latest from the live FPL data feed is knock. Wait for the pre-match updates before making any decisions here. Worth monitoring closely is Alderete from Sunderland. He is listed at 75% to play, which places him in a grey area. With 5.4% ownership, he is not an urgent sell at this stage, but he is someone you want clarity on before starting. The latest from the live FPL data feed is knock. Wait for the pre-match updates before making any decisions here. Further down the list, stock from Leeds also needs attention. The current chance of playing is 50%, which is not a number you can trust for a starting selection. At 2.0% ownership, holding him into the weekend without clarity is a real risk. Information from the live FPL data feed points to ankle injury. The Friday press conferences are the key moment here. Hold until then, but have a plan ready if the news turns negative. And the final case to flag is Tunnelly from Newcastle. The current chance of playing is 25%, which is not a number you can trust for a starting selection. At 1.1% ownership, holding him into the weekend without clarity is a real risk. Information from the live FPL data feed points to hamstring injury. The Friday press conferences are the key moment here. Hold until then, but have a plan ready if the news turns negative. The general rule is simple. Do not make transfer decisions based on midweek speculation. The manager press conferences on Friday are where the useful information comes from. With the availability picture clearer now, let's move on to the full 20-team breakdown. This slide gives you the full 20-team picture for Game Week 38. Two tables side by side, attacking projections on the left and clean sheet probability on the right. Everything here is driven by this week's fixtures and the expected goals model, so it reflects the matchups in front of us rather than broader seasonal trends. Starting with the attacking projections. At the top of the attacking table this week are Man City and Arsenal, projecting 1.5 and 1.5 expected goals respectively. Both are producing strong shot volume against their specific opponents this round, and their forward and midfield assets deserve serious starting consideration. Spurs, Nottingham Forest, and Bournemouth complete the top 5. All three bring real upside this week, and any attacking picks from those squads are well supported by the underlying numbers. At the bottom of the attacking table sit Man United, Brentford, and Aston Villa. Their projected output this week is limited, and if you have a benching decision to make, the data points pretty clearly to where the lowest ceiling options are. On the defensive side, the clean sheet probabilities for this specific game week tell a fairly clear story. Leading the defensive table this week is Fulham at 34.8% shutout probability. West Ham and Burnley follow at 34.6% and 34.5% respectively. These three offer the best defensive floor for this round, and their backs and goalkeepers are reliable starting options. Sunderland and Brighton also sit in a reasonable defensive position this week, which helps resolve any close calls in your backline selection. At the bottom of the clean sheet table this week are Chelsea, Bournemouth, and Arsenal. Across this run, their shutout outlook is weak enough that using their defenders as your main clean sheet route is difficult to defend when stronger picks are available. That leaves you with a simple read on the table. The teams at the top of both columns are the ones to lean on at the start of the round, while the sides at the bottom are the ones you question when finalizing your lineup. Now let's use the data to isolate the best transfer targets and the assets to stay away from. Now into the individual targets and avoids section. Injuries and suspensions have already been dealt with earlier, so the focus here shifts entirely toward fixture quality, projected output, and transfer direction. The left side highlights the players the data is actively encouraging managers to move toward. The right side focuses on the names beginning to drift away from the optimal path. The season is beginning to settle into shape now, so identifying fixture swings before the wider market reacts becomes increasingly valuable. Starting with the targets. Raya from Arsenal moves straight into focus this week. The goalkeeper is climbing rapidly in the transfer market, and the data behind that movement is difficult to ignore. Against Crystal Palace away 3, the model projects 8.8 expected points. The fixture setup is favourable, and the supporting metrics reinforce that projection across the board. Ownership currently sits at 36.5%, so moving early still creates room for meaningful rank gains before the wider market reacts. Attention also turns toward Gabriel, the Arsenal defender. This is less about hype and more about a profile lining up perfectly with the fixture run ahead. The upcoming meeting with Crystal Palace away 3 carries an expected return of 8.8 points. The difficulty rating stays manageable, and the ceiling is clearly there if the trend continues. At 46.1% ownership, this is still a position where a strong return can create immediate separation from the template squads. Anderson deserves serious consideration here. The Nottingham Forest midfielder is still slipping under the radar for many managers, which is exactly where the upside sits. There is genuine attacking potential in the Bournemouth at home 3 fixture. The model lands at 8.5 expected points, and the recent data fully supports that number. With only 8.1% of managers currently invested, the punishment for missing out on a haul is beginning to grow significantly. Another player firmly catching the eye is Doku from Man City. The fixture landscape is shaping up well for this type of midfielder profile right now. Heading into Aston Villa at home a 3, everything in the projection model points positively. 7.5 expected points alongside an fixture difficulty rating of 2.7 makes this one of the more attractive fixtures on the slate. The 6.5% ownership figure is sitting in an ideal range. High enough to signal confidence, but still low enough to preserve the upside. And completing the target list is Haaland from Man City. The underlying numbers continue to build a strong argument in his favour. This move is heavily driven by the Aston Villa at home 3 matchup itself. With 7.3 expected points and a comfortable difficulty score, the case almost builds itself. At 64.3% ownership, the profile becomes increasingly difficult to argue against. Fixture quality, expected output, and market positioning are all aligning. Those are the names the projection model is clearly favouring this week. Now shifting across to the players where the data is moving in the opposite direction. That completes the targets and avoids picture for this game week. There is still a long runway left in the season, so the priority remains building strong foundations rather than reacting emotionally to single week swings. The strongest decisions are usually the simplest ones. Trust the fixture quality, trust the projection data, and avoid forcing moves that need excessive justification. Let's zoom out for a moment and assess the wider chip strategy based on the current landscape. This is the chip strategy overview. In the opening phase of the season, 45.4% of managers activated their wildcard, while 49.2% committed early to the triple captain. As we enter the final stretch of the season, 32.7% have used the free hit, while 29.5% have already activated the bench boost. Surprisingly, early season chip usage has remained competitive with late season activation, highlighting inconsistent timing across the template. At this point in the campaign, precision timing separates rank gain from rank stagnation. The managers who aligned their chips with confirmed fixture swings are the ones who maximized their overall season outcome. Here is the fully locked structure for Game Week 38. Every decision inside this draft is driven directly by the Vortex fixture model, stripping away emotion and focusing purely on projected output and fixture strength. Between the posts, Darlow has been trusted to provide the strongest defensive platform available this week. The defensive unit is built around Gabriel, Hill, Van Heck and O'Reilly, selected specifically for stability, clean sheet probability, and fixture alignment heading into the round. At the back, the model leans heavily toward Gabriel from Arsenal. The defensive projection lands at 8.8 expected points against Crystal Palace away, making him one of the standout structural picks in the squad. In midfield, Soccer, Fernandes, and Gross carries the creative burden and most of the attacking projection. In midfield, Soccer from Arsenal sits at the centre of the attacking projections this week. At 0% ownership, the forecasted 7.0 expected points against Crystal Palace away makes him one of the defining pieces of this build. Leading the attack, Haaland, Gyökeres, and Calvert-Lewin has been positioned to capitalise on the strongest goal involvement projections in the model. Leading the line, Haaland from Man City remains the central attacking reference point. The model currently projects 7.3 expected points against Aston Villa at home, placing him firmly among the premium forward targets for the round. Providing cover from the bench are Verbruggen, Cherki, Tavernier, and Struijk, giving the squad the flexibility needed to absorb unexpected rotation or late availability issues. The captaincy is mathematically locked on Gabriel from Arsenal. Facing Crystal Palace away, the model projects a baseline of 8.8 expected points. With 0% of the game backing him, this is the highest confidence armband decision this round. Haaland from Man City holds the vice-captaincy, projecting 7.3 expected points against Aston Villa at home. If the captain misses out, the vice-captain is perfectly positioned to absorb the damage. The season is now entering the closing stretch, where every transfer, captaincy call, and bench decision can dramatically influence final rank outcomes. This is the final game week of the campaign, so there is no longer any value in holding back aggressive decisions or protecting unused resources. Turning toward the transfer watch list ahead of the deadline, these are the players the model is currently flagging as priority additions. Bowen from West Ham, carrying a projection of 4.0 expected points against Leeds at home. Anderson from Nottingham Forest, carrying a projection of 8.5 expected points against Bournemouth at home. Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest, carrying a projection of 6.0 expected points against Bournemouth at home. Szoboszlai from Liverpool, carrying a projection of 6.7 expected points against Brentford at home. These names deserve close attention before transfers are finalised. Every chip has already been used this season. From this point forward, success depends entirely on transfer precision, squad balance, and navigating the fixture swings cleanly. With the season moving into its final weeks, even minor transfer decisions can now create massive rank swings. Make sure the squad is fully confirmed and locked before the Game Week 38 deadline arrives. Let's bring it all together with the final tactical takeaways before the deadline. That wraps up Game Week 38. Let's pull the whole picture together. From the opening stretch to the midpoint grind and all the way into the run-in, the same principle holds: attack the fixtures that are screaming for returns. This video has already shown you where the high expected goal zones are, so trust the edge and lean into them. Next, get the moves done with intent. Players like Anderson are drawing serious attention for a reason, and every hour closer to deadline makes that edge harder to capture. Then cut loose the weak links. Assets like Thiago are staring at a rough setup, and letting poor fixtures drag on is exactly how rank slips away over time. If your squad is already in good shape, there is real value in sitting tight and banking the transfer. Going into the next round with an extra move can be a major weapon, especially when rotation starts to bite and the season tightens up. And finally, captaincy. The model is backing Gabriel this week, with Holland ready as the safety net if anything shifts before deadline. If you have a transfer dilemma or a squad call you want pressure tested, drop it in the comments. I go through them before the deadline and either reply directly or feature the best ones in the next video. Good luck with the game week.